What is up, everybody? It is Wick here, and I've got a bolo video for you today. These are things you can look for out in the wild, at garage sales, thrift stores, wherever you can find them. It makes some money. If you enjoy this type of video, make sure to hit that like button for me. I'll keep making them. I know they help a lot of people out. They also help me out a lot. Just making this video alone, I've learned so much. But last year around this time, I put out a board game bolo video. Lots of people ended up finding some of the board games that I had in that video, including myself. I got some very good games this past year. So this one's going to focus on board games. I got quite a few here to show you. Board games are all over the place. You can find them pretty much any thrift store, all the time at garage sales and rummage sales. Some rummage sales I go to, they'll have literally like 100 board games. So there's a lot of hidden gems in these that you can find, make some money. I'm going to focus on more common, easier to find board games in the range of like $50 to $100 they sell for. If you didn't see the last board game video, I'll put a link in the description. Go check that out. Some incredible information in there, some really high-end board games. But the first video I got to show you is the Omega virus, and I've actually found this before at a Goodwill, I believe. It's been in my death pile for years at this point. I need to get it listed or do something with it. I'm just kind of holding on to it. I'm a bit of a board game collector. Certain things I'm interested in, I hold on to, and I thought this was really cool. And a lot of these old electronic games that are vintage can sell for decent money. You can see this one in good condition, all the pieces, and that matters with board games. If they're in good condition, the box is in good condition, they're complete, obviously. Some of these games, though, you can sell the pieces if they are missing pieces. So if you're picking them up for $0.25 at a sale, you're not really missing out. You can see this one easily sells over $100. A very cool science fiction board game. Here's one I've found before a long time ago. This is Masterpiece Art Auction, the board game. From 1970. You see a lot of these types of board games from the 60s and 70s. They all have that look. They're all kind of generic. The pieces kind of look all the same. Most of them aren't worth much money at all. Some of them are. This is one of the better ones, Masterpiece Art Auction. You can see it's selling for around $80 on average with shipping on top of that. So certainly one to keep an eye out for. There's so many variations of games like Risk that it's easy to look over them. If you see, a Risk, usually it's not worth anything. But certain editions, and I've mentioned this in videos before, but just got to remind people, and there's a lot of people new to the channel, so maybe this is the first time hearing it. Something like Risk 40th edition here, selling for, well, $219. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. Does seem like it's selling for at least over $100 on average here. Looks like the true price is about $125, $140, depending on condition. And I am very guilty of this. I look at so many board games. It's easy to look past something like Risk and not notice it's a special edition. So worth checking out. Of course, not every special edition is going to be worth money, right? Always do your research if you find something that you think could be worth it. But in the heat of the moment, if you're at a rummage sale and there's people grabbing stuff right around you, you want to be able to pick out things that are valuable and just grab them and buy them, right? Here's another one of these vintage electronic games, kind of like Risk. You see Battleship everywhere. There's all kinds of variations of Battleship, but the talking electronic Battleship is where the money is. And I've sold some of the newer ones from the 90s, early 2000s, I believe. I sell them on Amazon, usually get around $80. If you can find some from the 70s and 80s like this here in good condition, you can get around $100 for them. They do have a lot of pieces like the pegs. Usually you don't have to count the pegs on these. It just has to be a good amount of each one, because I don't even think they have a content like list for the pegs. It's just they just throw them in there, and they're easy to get. You can buy, replacements if they're missing some. The little ships are pretty easy to buy. So yeah, $80, $65, just a good solid staple. You see these all the time. The hard thing is, though, finding them in good condition. Here's the one I usually sell, the 2000 Battleship. Actually, I have one right now I got to count the pieces for. Lots of Pokemon games out there, many newer ones that aren't worth much at all. If you can find some of the older ones, though, like this one from 2001, the Pokemon Master Trainer game, you see hundreds of dollars here in good condition, 400, 389 complete. You can see all these sales comps. These are actually sold listings. I say this in every video. I do like this, though. Not every price is accurate. If you see one priced $400, then a bunch priced for like $100 or less, then that $400 is probably a fluke. It may have been a canceled order or something like that. You just never know. Money laundering, a lot of people think. But when you see this many from different sellers all selling for the same amount, Here's another box version from the 1999, which actually selling a bit less. I guess the 2001's like from a different set or something. You know, I don't really know that much about Pokemon, to be honest, but here's one that sold without a manual, still for $225. If you're going to look for any Pokemon game, make sure it's that one. Here's something that I'm kind of surprised went up in value since I've noticed it anyway. I thought this was a more common game, and it was pretty common back in the 90s, later 2000s even, I believe there was a version. But it's Pretty Princess, and it's just a solid seller at $69.99, $60, $59.95, right? So right around $60 if this is complete and in good condition. I guess it was just a discontinued game and people are looking for it, and there's 99. I'm not sure what year it actually stopped. Here's Disney Pretty Princess as well. A different type of box. Looks like just as valuable or close to it. Here's a game from my childhood I remember. You know, I honestly can't remember if I even got this game. I'm pretty sure I did, but I remember the commercial and I remember really wanting this game. There's another one that used Play-Doh. I can't remember it right off. The commercial was crazy. It was just like you murdering these bugs and things. I've actually found this before. I can't remember if the Play-Doh inside was in good condition. Probably not. That's one of the things you have to be careful with buying something like this. You don't know if the Play-Doh is going to be in good condition. Probably not, since it's from the 90s. It's very old. However, if you look, there's complete, it says no dough. One still sold for $85. Here's complete except dough, $85. So you're still getting a lot of money. The one up here sold for $125. It says dough perfect. So kind of crazy that the Play-Doh would last that long unless they replaced it. I think there's like 6 different colors of Play-Doh. So it is kind of hard to replace, I would imagine. But still, people can buy Play-Doh pretty easily. That's all you need. You make the Play-Doh molds of bugs and you just splat them. Like the Pokemon, there's some Yu-Gi-Oh games that are worth money, but many of them aren't worth money. This one is one of the newer ones from 2016, so it's more common to find actually, and it holds some really good value. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Monopoly. Of course, I've talked about Monopoly so much on this channel and all the variations. If you see a unique looking Monopoly that's themed like this, you should always do some research because they can be worth good money. But it's holding value at around 70 to 80 bucks, so certainly worth picking up if you can find it. Here's something that I'm kind of shocked about, to be honest. This is Munchkin Adventure Time. Now, Munchkin makes a card game, and there's all kinds of variations of it because it got really popular. I usually pick them up at garage sales and places all the time. I have quite a few different versions. I just kind of put them with my board game collection, which is now in storage. But I think I have this. I think I might have picked it up at a garage sale this past year along with some other ones. But I'm noticing how much the value is going up. Now, the one that has the most value is the second edition, or the expansion, I guess, to it. Because here's one with the game and the expansion pre-owned, sold for $250. And I'm sorting all of these sold comps by used. A lot of these things, if you happen to find them new, you might be getting triple, maybe 4 times the value on some of these. So obviously, if you find this stuff new sealed, it's worth a lot more money than the pre-owned prices. You'd be surprised how many new board games you find out there. People get this stuff for Christmas. They put it in a closet. They never open it, and it just gets donated to Goodwill or put out at a garage sale for like 50 cents. But yeah, Munchkin Adventure Time, pretty good deal. Just the base game, even $70. You know, many of the Munchkin expansions and sets are worth a whole lot, but there's also the Munchkin board game, which is different from the card game. And this is went up in value because I remember this being not worth as much, but it's selling for over $100. So that's not bad at all, really. So anything Munchkin, just kind of pay a bit of attention to, maybe look up, because some of the sets are starting to get kind of rare. Next is a game I've found and talked about on the channel before. Found a couple of these the past year, actually. This is the cash flow game by Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Still holding some decent profit if you can find it. Here's one that has like 3 sets though for $9 or $88. Here's one for $90, $92, $60. If you're an Amazon seller like I do, and if you can sell some of these games on Amazon, you can make a bit more money. I believe at some point though, I heard that this was getting the Vero claims, the cash flow game. I don't know if that's true or not. Might be thinking of something else, but it looks like they're still selling on there pretty well. Scrabble, another one of those games that you see so many different versions. There's the wooden luxury edition, they call it here. When you look at the box, it kind of just looks like any other Scrabble box, but the set is actually different and sells way over $100 if it's complete and in good condition. And these are fairly common. I found them, I don't know, I probably find one of these on average about once a year. There's some Scrabble versions that will even sell for like $1,000 made by Franklin Mint. So certainly worth keeping an eye out for some of these luxury editions. I've noticed the value on some of these giant board game variations that you put it like in the yard. to play during the summer or whatever, they do pretty well. Even pre-owned, you got this Connect 4 here, $150 for that one, $75, $70. So kind of worth checking those, because you could easily find those at a garage sale for like $5 or $10. Here's another Connect 4 variation. It looks like from 2008. Connect 4x4, $60 pre-owned. Here's another one for $50 pre-owned. A lot of games like this, they just didn't make too many of them, and that's why the value goes up. Here's another thing I've talked about on the channel many times, Angry Birds games. Here's Mega Smash. This one is worth quite a bit of money on eBay. $118.99 for that one, $84.99, $94.99. If you can find this complete. There's a couple really rare ones, and then there's some that's not worth a whole lot, and there's some that's worth a decent amount. So anything Angry Birds that's a board game related, please look it up, because it can definitely be worth some good money. Here's another one of these special edition games. This is Yahtzee Deluxe Edition. This is the one with the gold dice. Kind of surprising that these sell for $50 plus shipping. There's a lot of different Yahtzee variations that don't sell for much at all. I remember when I first started reselling, like 12, 13, I don't know, 14 years now. At this point, I remember picking up a lot of different variations of Yahtzee games at a garage sale. Pay like $2 a piece, and they just weren't worth much at all. But the Yahtzee Deluxe, again, is just about learning what sells, what's desirable, what's rare. There's tens of thousands of board games out there, so it's very much worth learning. You can see very consistently around $50 for this, complete and in good condition. And there's even the Yahtzee Travel Edition here in this little black case. It's selling for like $40, which is also a good one. See if we can find any more of those travel editions. Here's some right around $40. Another travel edition for $32. So this is the kind of stuff I find all the time for like 50 cents at a garage sale, right? So if you watched the last video, we talked about, what was it, Dream Phone, and I think Mall Madness, some of these old board games that are centered around girls. And here is Mystery Date. Now this is the 1965 edition, selling for over $100 if you happen to find that in good condition. But there's also newer editions that sell pretty well if we can find one here. Scroll, here's one from 2000, which I guess is not that modern. That was 25 years ago, but $85 for that one. Here's another one for $80. So Mystery Date, Dream Phone, Mall Madness. I found all of these in the past year. In fact, I found 2 Dream Phones. I sold one Dream Phone for $200, a Mall Madness for like $150. So there's definitely money in these games. I know a lot of people don't resell. They watch my videos. They just come across the video. They don't believe anything I say, but I'm telling you, these things will sell if you can find them in a good condition. Oh, here's a classic, and I want to talk about this. I've probably talked about this at some point over the past decade. Crossfire, anyone that's my age remembers this game. The commercial was very intense in the 90s. And I've sort of wrote this game off because the value went really low, where it was only worth like $40, maybe $30. I remember just a couple years ago, I passed up one of these at a garage sale. I'm like, oh yeah, these aren't worth it anymore, because they released a new version, I believe in 2016, which tanked the price. But it turns out the ones from 2016 are actually valuable. Here's one for 2016 that sold for $99. So apparently they didn't make a whole lot of these in 2016. And if anything, it got people excited and drove the price back up. So I'm really regretting not buying the one I saw at a garage sale, but you just never know. The prices change on this stuff all the time. You just got to keep up with it. The hard thing about Crossfire is finding them with the actual metal balls that shoot, right? Because they get lost easy, but they're pretty easy to buy on eBay as replacements. Here's another one from my childhood I remember. This is Hot Shot Basketball. There's lots of copies of this one, but the people who are nostalgic for it and are buying this kind of stuff, they're wanting the actual Hot Shot Basketball. Again, the basketballs get lost in these things, so it's hard to find them complete. But if you do find them at a garage sale, again, you're only paying like $1 or $2. Here's a different box. This one's from 97. Looks like it holds some value, maybe not as much as the one from 90. So speaking of things that's went up in value, and I've probably missed a bunch of these over the years, because I remember looking these up years ago, like maybe 8, 9, possibly even 10 years ago, and they weren't worth reselling. This is Clue, the museum caper. And now I've noticed the price is pretty good on these. I've seen this at thrift stores for 50 cents multiple times, I know, and I could have bought it and made some money apparently. I don't know when it started going back up again, but it's pretty good at around $80. You got free shipping on those. The true price is about $50, but I feel like this is a pretty common game. Looking forward to getting out there and finding something like this now that I know they're valuable, or at least there's people buying them. Which leads me into this one, Elephant, which I've also looked up before, and it was not selling very well at some point in my reselling career. But somebody was watching one of my thrifting videos and was like, hey, you missed an Elephant. Now I get people comment all the time about things, and usually I'll look them up and they sell for like $15, $20 a lot of times, which I'm looking for more profit for my time to deal with counting the board game pieces and selling them. So when I saw that comment, I'm like, it's probably not really selling. But when I looked it up, very surprised that Elephant is now selling for this much. This game has been around since 2002. I think 2015 or 16 they're still making them. But I kind of was hard on myself when I realized that I missed that, and I had cataract surgery, which the eye is doing well right now. So after a couple of weeks while I was healing and I wasn't doing any thrifting, so when I went back thrifting the other day, I get into Goodwill and I immediately see one of these on the shelf for $2.99. So I bought it right away, which is the whole point of this video. Is just once you learn about stuff like this, you can really start to pinpoint it. You'd be surprised what your brain can recall. But yeah, Elephant, every edition or version from different years. There's one even from 93. I guess they're really old. 93 to 2008. Here's one. Here's a 2020. Is that even right? Still selling for $50. This is one of those things where right now people are buying them and they're good. I think there's going to be a lot of them out there. However, you know, after people watch my video here, maybe too many people will buy them and it'll drive the price down. But this kind of thing, if it's popular, will eventually go back up. That happened with the Dream phones, I think. I talked about them in the video, and I found a couple. The price went from like $200 down to like $100. People were telling me that watched the video later, it's like, oh, you can't sell a Dream phone for that. But then it just rebounded right back, you know, and it took me maybe 7 months, but I sold mine for $200. So again, price fluctuates on this stuff based on demand. I think social media has a lot to do with some of these games. Sometimes they talk about them on like morning shows, and that can cause the demand to go up. Somebody makes a very popular TikTok video, goes viral, gets 10 million views about Elephant, and then everyone's buying them out on eBay, right? Here's another one of those games that's pretty easy to miss because most of the boxes throughout the decades looks the same, and that's Operation. The vintage one where the doctor is smoking a cigarette is still the one that has some value. So just kind of worth keeping an eye out for something like that, right? Because again, Operation was a very common game. It sold, I don't know, millions of copies, but lots of copies. So there's quite a few of them out there. And of course, at some point, probably in the 90s, they removed the cigarette. Here's a game that's on my bucket list of games to find. It's kind of like Operation. Operation made me think of it. This is Alien Autopsy, where you do an alien autopsy. And I'm assuming it buzzes like Operation. I just think it's really cool and unique and looks like complete and in good condition. Selling for over $100. Of course, it's from 97, right when all the alien hype was going on, I feel like, during that time. Again, here is another game, Sharkmania, where they've remade it recently. What was it called? I think it was something else. Shark Attack, maybe. Now, Sharkmania looks like it's from 2014, and it holds some pretty good value for a newer game. I have found the shark before at Goodwill. I've not found the whole game, but $80, $70, $70, $64, $60, $50 plus shipping. I feel like this game's probably pretty easy to find. It's just hard to find in good condition. Kids play with this stuff and destroy it because it's made for little kids. Here's Nightmare. This is a VHS board game. Some of these VHS games, especially the horror themed ones, are good money. I found this before. It was missing pieces. I've been holding on to it, hoping to find another one so I could have a complete set, but it'll sell for right around $100. There's expansions for it as well. Here's another fun game to look for. Just because it looks like a basic checkers game. This is called King's Court, but it's Super Checkers. It's from the 80s, and it holds a solid value of around $40 to $50. So I could easily see myself finding one of these at a rummage sale for $1 and flipping it for some good profit. So here is Acquire, the board game. This version right here is made by Avalon Hill, which if you see any board game that's Avalon Hill, you should probably look into it because they make some very expensive games. So of course, that's going to sell for over $100, but there's also a bookshelf edition right here that sells well from 1968. The 3M games that sold for $80. I just recently sold a copy that I got. Oh, where did I get it? Maybe Goodwill. Maybe a garage sale. I pick up so many games, it's hard to remember, but I sold it on Amazon for $70 or $80. And speaking of the 3M bookshelf games, some of them are okay, but Many of them aren't worth a whole lot, but if you're at a sale and somebody has like 4 or 5 of them for $1 a piece, they're probably worth picking up and selling. Like a lot of 7 here for 80 bucks. See, this person right here undersold that because there's a choir in there, which sells for, 70, 80 bucks by itself. So definitely could have bought that and, resold the others and probably made some money if he was into that, or somebody just got a good deal. There's another one for $73. Figured I'd talk about cranium caribou again. It's been a while since I found one of these. Generally, I've been finding like 2 or 3 a year. I feel like last year I maybe only found like 1, if that. They're fairly common to find. Again, the problem is kids play with these. They're for very young kids. The rubber balls get destroyed. They dry rot. It's hard to find them complete. I have about 6 or 7 boxes of just pieces that I found over the years. So if I do find one, I can usually complete it. Sell them on Amazon for like 130 bucks, but they sell on eBay for like $80 to $100. This is one of those games I believe was on some sort of show, like a morning show, talk show or something, where it was good for kids with learning disabilities for them to play it or something. And it would end up going viral and getting real popular. Still holding value after all these years. Just a random game called Fishin' Time. Again, something like this just being unique. You don't see it all the time. So anytime I'm out and I see a board game that I've never seen before, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. This has to be worth something, right? Of course not. That's not always the case. But this Fishin' Time, pretty good. I found $45. Here's 40. There's 54, so good seller. Figured I'd throw this one on there because it's one of those games where you see apples to apples all the time. Apples to apples is not really worth reselling. There's different sets and expansions. Many of them aren't worth reselling either. Here's one that is. Apples to apples, big picture, family board game. So look for the box. If it says big picture, it's probably worth picking up pre-owned. Other apples to apples games, I try to make these distinctions because I've talked about like the Phase 10 game before. Phase 10 dice is worth a good money, but just Phase 10 is not. And I've had people watch these videos and they go buy Phase 10 and they send me messages like, why'd you say this was worth money? It's not worth anything. Like, no, that's Phase 10 dice. A very big difference. So don't just go buy apples to apples big picture if you happen to see it out in the wild, because it holds some good value. Here's a game that has eluded me. People have spotted this, that I've missed it, and I know it's worth money. There's been a couple times in my videos that I walked right past it and didn't see it. And this is Vegas Dice. There's also a Las Vegas Dice game here. It's made by Ravensburger Games. So if you happen to see these, they're worth some pretty good money there. You see it's just this square box that says Vegas. It looks like a dice. It should be very easy to see, but I've not seen it twice now. Of course, here's some, brand new. I didn't sort this one. I apparently buy pre-owned, but yeah, pre-owned right around $100. These are very popular and they're fairly common from what I gather. And when I say common, it's not like, Monopoly or something, right? It's in the realm of uncommon and rare board games is more of a common, easier to find game. Here's a game too I've never heard of, Lords of Vegas. So it's for like $90. So really, any Las Vegas dice game, I guess, is worth checking out, right? But there it is, everybody. That's what I have to show you today. You should be able to go out and find one of these, right, this year. Make some money. Board games, one of my favorite things to find just because there's so many of them out there. And a lot of times people having sales, they don't price them too high. Let me know in the comments if you found and sold any of these or you have any big board game bolos yourself. Don't forget to hit that like button for me. Make sure you're subscribed before you go. I'd really appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, flipping_junk. And this has been Wick. Until next time.